then I started building the boat, really, just to take a leap. And my wife said that she was going to support me.
Yeah.
And I said it's going to take 2 years, and it took 7.
This is Henk. I saw his beautiful yacht on the docks of Las Palmas in the Canary Islands, and when I asked him if I could interview him about his boat, I had no idea what an amazing stories he had to tell. From working with Greenpeace on the Rainbow Warrior to building his own expedition yacht and chartering it in the Arctic and Antarctic. A very interesting man about whom I could probably make an entire documentary, but for now he gives us a tour of his boat Tiama and shares a bit of his adventurous life. Henk.
Henk. Hello.
What's the name of this boat?
Tiama.
Tiama.
Yeah, it means free.
Free.
In Tahitian Maori. Yeah. So we have a lot of connections with Tahiti and the Pacific.
Yeah. So what kind of boat is this?
This is it's a one-off steel expedition vessel, 15 meters long, and it was designed by Alan Mummery in New Zealand. He's a well-known designer in New Zealand, and he designed it for us to my specifications, what I wanted, as a high latitude charter boat, high latitude expedition charter boat for the Arctic and the Antarctic. Yeah, something different.
So he designed it and then you built it?
He designed it and then I built it, yeah. I spent 7 years of my life in Auckland building it. It was a long pregnancy.
Yes, a very long pregnancy. So before you thought of building this boat, did you do a lot of sailing already?
A little bit, yeah. I worked for Greenpeace for many years on their ships. Sailed, worked, did some great work there and was able to do some great work. And then I wanted to build a boat that could go to the Antarctic and do that same sort of work, make a change in the world, you know, make a positive change, a positive contribution, not as a pleasure yacht, but as a working boat, to do work in the Antarctic or in the Arctic or do some work for Greenpeace, which we did. And then we chartered the boat. I chartered the boat professionally, worked the boat professionally for about 22 years. Mostly out of New Zealand, Bluff, to the subantarctic islands, and then also to the Antarctic. Occasionally we did a few trips down there. And we also chartered to the Arctic and Spitsbergen and that sort of places. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, don't ask me what we're doing here in the Canaries.
No, that was my next question. So how did you end up from Arctic and Antarctic sailing in the Canaries?
Well, yeah. No, that's a good question. But we're so I gave up chartering professional sailing about 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, and sailed the boat here. Sailed the boat from New Zealand to across the Pacific through the Northwest Passage, which is, do you know where the Northwest Passage is? The Northwest Passage is over the top of Canada.
Yeah.
And then Greenland, and then Iceland, and then Amsterdam, where Bunny, my wife, was working there. And she then quit her job.
Yeah.
She was working there for 3 or 4 years in a very big job, but she quit her job and then we retired, both of us. So, since our retirement, I've stopped chartering and now we sail the boat for fun, for where we want to be. But the big difference is that I don't have to be anywhere in time, you know, or on somebody else's schedule, you know. So now we left Amsterdam and then we went to the Mediterranean, Portugal, Mediterranean, and then we stuck there for 2 years for COVID.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody else was. This was not a bad place.
No,
you know.
the worst places to get
Yeah,
stuck.
and then last summer we were this past summer, we spent in Scotland and Ireland. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, which was great sailing, you know, and that's a bit more my cup of tea, but I really liked it. And then we came back here, down here, because I didn't want to winter over in Scotland, because I didn't like look. I was kind of, but anyway, be here, and this is nice, and it's the sun, and now we're in amongst everybody else, which is interesting.
All right, so can you show me a bit and maybe point out also, which is quite, I will probably ask as well, because I have never been on an expedition yacht before.
Okay.
So explain a bit about why this and why that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah?
Okay, so that's good, sounds good. So well, you can feel she's quite heavy, so we're displaying about 30 tons, 30,000 kilos. And that's largely due to a lot of equipment and water and fuel. So we carry 3,000 liters of diesel and 1,800 liters of water. And then she's steel, and then it's full of spares. And she's sort of fitted out to, as we were going to the Arctic. So also with survival gear for the snow and ice and climbing gear and all that sort of crazy stuff. Besides, it doesn't make any sense over here. But anyway, that's where the boat lives.
Yeah.
And then the wheelhouse is I have this door open, but at sea we usually have these closed. And you can see it's all hard. It's a hard wheelhouse, steel, with glazed, armored glazed windows, and then aluminium doors, and then you can close this out.
Yeah, and you can basically.
Yeah, and then and that's well. But then, at sea we usually have the one door open or two doors open, depending on the weather.
Yeah.
But this space here makes it into a high latitude boat.
Yeah.
One of the things is that you can be inside here and be protected from everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the weather and it's cozy.
Yeah.
And it's you're not outside. You have the autopilot going.
Yeah.
And it's a very safe place as well. It's quite. The rails are quite high, and yeah.
So you only have to go outside to adjust the sails.
Yeah, there's the sails, or we have to reef still on the foredeck. We still have to go to the foredeck to the reefing. Yeah. And then what makes it also a high latitude boat is all the equipment on the boat, and the rigging is all about oversize from what you would find on the boat next door.
Yeah.
And the rails and everything is kind of made a little bit more heavier or size up, for
two.
Yeah. That's right. So do you want to have a look on the deck, or you want to?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
I'll just follow you.
All right. Yeah. So what I really like about the boat is lots of things. But as I said, the rigging is all neck size up, for about 20 meters. The mast, this is it's one of the features I really like on this boom. It's just a rail. I don't know not everybody has that. I don't understand. Once you have it, you think that's a good idea. Now you can just walk around,
Yeah,
but then to hold on to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a really good idea. And then a diesel heater on board. One is for the air intake, and the other one is for the hot air out. So nice and cozy. This thingy is, as you say, it's sort of matching with the boat. Really, it's too much. But it's a wonderful thingy once it's in the water. Weighs 150 kilos, but and it has a mast on it and a centerboard, and anyway.
So you can sail with it as well.
Yeah, have a bit of fun,
And it won't puncture if you hit the ice.
No, that's right. And it rows quite well, and
I
had a design for the boat, and it flips upside down here, and then it sits here.
Yes.
It's custom made for to fit on the foredeck.
Yeah, it has the supports as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So then it's quite low and yeah.
Beautiful.
And same with the anchor gear and the roller furler. It's got a 13mm chain and a hydraulic, nice hydraulic anchor handlers.
Yes.
That have not been able to break.
No, I can imagine.
And it's hydraulic, so it's not electric.
Yep.
So that makes a huge difference. And if you get the anchor chain or the anchor stuck on some rocks, you can really, don't burn out your anchor winch. So yeah, we'll walk around.
So what is this?
Ah, that's right. So in the remote locations like in the Antarctic, or also if you're in places where like Chilean channels, or where it's quite deep in fjords, and there's a lot of katabatic winds coming down the hills, and you can't really anchor, or you can anchor, but then the anchor doesn't really want to hold because it's too steep.
Yeah.
And the katabatic winds come down. And anyway, these are rope reels. There's 4 of them on the boat, and there's 120 meters of line, polypropylene line on them.
Oh yes.
30 millimeters, 120 meters, so you can tie yourself shore lines.
Yeah.
So then you have to have strops and steel strops. Put it on the rocks around the trees.
Yep.
And tie yourself from 3 or 4 points. So you anchor, you're sort of there,
Yeah.
kind of, and then
Secure
tie yourself ashore to 1, 2, 3 lines. And also if the anchor is really small, like in the Antarctic Peninsula, some of them are really quite tiny. It's not enough swinging room.
Yeah.
So you don't see that on a lot of boats, but it is. If you go to certain areas, then that's really what you need.
Yeah. So did you learn all of this during your time with Greenpeace?
No, I also sailed with the Skip Novak a little bit, and to the Antarctic Peninsula trip, and I did with him to the Canadian Arctic, and also just
Is it?
talking to people and then learning as you go, really. Yeah. So a lot of ideas, boats are about ideas from other people, right? So you take what you can and apply that to your other boat, and hopefully make an improvement, or move on, progress the development of ideas, So all these ideas about lines and smokestack, it's all this combination of reading and talking to people and doing it yourself and trying out and see what works for you. Yeah. And nice high rails, as you can see. None that kneecap height, that a lot of boats are.
Yes,
This
that's
sort of
what
here,
we
this-
have. Yeah.
That's right. This is something that you can hold on to.
Yeah.
Okay, go down below and have a look down there. So come inside here. So this is where it's all happening. So we do all the navigation from here as well. Nothing down below anymore. So we got just a chart plotter, a radar here, and then I have a backup radar here, and then a AS and autopilot. And this one, the Raymarine has a depth sounder, and I have a backup depth sounder as well. So I like to have 2, because specifically the depth sounder, they always seems to go funny. One then works and the other one sort of goes all over the place. And it's nice to have 2 radars. I really love radar. Once you know how to use the radar, you never want to go to sea without one anymore. Okay, we'll go down below. And I hope this is a bit of a wide angle, I'm assuming. you see this big contraption here,
Yeah.
and that is the centerboard. So that what makes it really a high latitude expedition boat. That makes a huge difference. So it's a lifting keel.
Yep.
So it does it, and it swings. So it has a swinging point there, and then it comes all the way up, and it swings all the way down. So it means if you hit something, and you have the safety bar up, it kicks up. It kicks up. All the ballast is in the keel. So the keel itself weighs 6,000 kilos, 6 tons. And that makes you that allows you to go into basically uncharted waters where there's not a lot of information. So you can just take the lock off the keel, go slowly, and use it as a bit as a depth sounder. It sounds a bit crazy to people who hear this, but the keel is actually designed to take a bit of a hit.
Yeah.
And I have done that plenty. And also with the rudder comes up. So the keel sticks, the boat with the keel down, the draft is 3 meters. And with the keel up, it's 1.2 meters. And the draft of the rudder is 2 meters. So the keel will hit something before the rudder, but the rudder can come up at the same time. So the rudder can come up and the rudder can, yeah, that's right. I'm saying that right. Okay.
Yeah.
This has become the office. It's there's pretty nothing fancy here. A computer and then Iridium Go, and I also have an Iridium phone, handheld as a backup.
So everything has a backup, probably.
Yeah, except me.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
This is a problem.
Yeah, that could
No,
be a
my
problem.
wife is a backup to me.
Yeah.
And she can take the boat places. Yeah, but yeah, and when I was chartering, I was always my mate was my backup, and he had to have the same level of skills that I did. Yeah, and I just renewed all the safety gear. Spent too much money over here. Anyway, the galley, pretty straightforward. Yeah. And we used to, when I was chartering, we had like 8 people on board maximum, 6 clients and 2 crew, me and another person. And now it's just the two of us on board. So now we have mountains of room, which is wonderful.
So what kind of people did you get on board? Were they really keen on expeditions and dreamed of it for years, or just
No, mostly it was especially for the last sort of 17 years in New Zealand, was research support vessels, and then research support for the New Zealand government departments, DOC, which has a lot of outlying islands south of New Zealand in the Southern Ocean, south of New Zealand. So operated out of a port called Bluff for 17 years. And mostly for DOC or for another organization called NIWA, which does a lot of albatross research. 75% of the world's albatross breed in the New Zealand subantarctic islands. So a lot of my work was around that, taking scientists down there for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then being a floating hotel.
Yeah.
So the diesel heater comes into its own. It's it's a reflex. So it's a Danish drip diesel, so it has a carburetor here. That's all. There's no engineering on this, no electronics, no electrics. It's a drip-free diesel, and it drips on the plate, and once you get it going, it just keeps on going, and it just radiates heat to this environment here, which is what you want. A dry boat. So we get a weather gear here, and a cozy little saloon with some Pacific.
very arty?
Yeah, Pacific. It's from the Pacific, you know. So there's some Pacific art here, you know, from people, and then we have a cabin here.
Is that a photo from when it was built?
Yes. So take a
Yes.
go a bit closer. That shows you the that's from the looking from this bow.
Yeah.
backwards.
Yeah, so you
So you see all the double bottom fuel and water tanks and all the frame spacings and how how heavy she is constructed.
Yes. Wow.
So we have taken her into the ice a few times.
Yeah.
And then here we go. This is like another guest cabin here for 2 people. Two single, you can split that up into 2 single beds. And then here also 2 people sleep. When I was chartering, this rolls out to a boot here, and then there's a lee board here and a curtain.
Yep.
These people have to be sociable. Yeah, toilet and shower, and
this is where the magic happens.
this is So as my partner, as Bunny said, I built the boat, so I actually physically built the hull, and 80% of it, 75-80% of the work I did myself. So that's why it took 7 years. Anyway, this is the remnants of my workshop that I had in the factory that I was working in Greenland. But once you're a tool man and you're a tradesperson, you work with your hands a lot, then it's hard to let go. So I transferred that little workshop into the bow of the boat as a dedicated workshop. Yes. Yeah, and it has a vise, bench grinder, drip press.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure it still comes in handy.
Yeah.
Every day.
And I got like things like this,
Yes, all the men will be.
Oh yeah, they're right. It's got little drawers full of stuff. Screws and nuts and bolts and that stuff. Yeah. And then there's another outboard motor here. We have another inflatable.
Yeah.
And the anchor locker is up forward. Watertight bulkhead.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So behind Henk there's another cabin and on the other side a double. Hello, Bunny.
Everybody asks me that question, what's the worst weather you've been in? And
Yes.
I go like, oh,
Every day.
no. There's, the Southern Ocean. We did a trip down to Macquarie and then down to the Bellini Islands for New Zealand government as a research trip. And that was sort of my personal Mount Everest, really, for the boat. We sailed around Cape Horn as well, and that was at our first year. But then later on, when I started seriously working out in New Zealand, we went to the Bellini Islands. And then on the way back, it wasn't even that, but the wind gets up to 60 knots, and it gets a lot, you have no more sail up. And the thing is that if you have a little bit of sail, we had a bit of sail up, and the waves are so big that, on the top of the waves it blows sort of 60 knots, 50, 40, 60, 50, 60, it goes up and down. And then the waves are so big in the Southern Ocean that on top it blows, you get steering, and I love to run before it, not
In it. Yeah.
not too into it. And we're sort of having it on the quarter, and it was all good. But you go on the top, they have so much wind. But then you go in the valley, and it's so deep, there's no more wind. See, there's no, in the bottom, there's no wind. It just blows right over the top of you. So the problem is then that you really want to come to the top again, because you would need that wind to maintain the steering.
Yeah.
The boat's been great, fantastic. Yes, it's fantastic. Really fantastic boat. And
So, a long time back, when did you decide I'm gonna build my own expedition? Yeah.
That's a long dream.
Yes.
Yes. So I've been sailing for Tiama now almost 25 years, and before that I did some work for Greenpeace, as I said. But before that I was on a wooden boat, a Baltic trader, Danish Baltic trader. But it really started when I was a young man, from 10 years old. I grew up in Brabant, in Holland, on a farm, far away from the sea as you can possibly get. And I didn't see the ocean until I was about 10. But I always read books, about sailing and boating, and I wanted to go to sea.
So where did that come from?
I don't know. None of my brothers or sisters are like that. And none of my village either. I don't know. I just was a restless spirit, I think. I wanted to have some adventures. And I got inspired by lots of books, sailing books and, boating and Willem Barents and those high latitude adventures and that survival and all that sort of stuff. Really, I don't know what it did to me, something. Because and then I wanted to go sailing, and then I was going to join the merchant navy or the navy, and my mother said, no, that's not. She never said no to many things, but she said, no, that's not a good idea. As a boy, 14-year-old. Anyway, long story short, traveled a little bit, met my wife, ended up living in Amsterdam, joined Greenpeace for a while and did some work with them. Then I joined this FRI, F-R-I, FRI. The Baltic, this is an old wooden Baltic trader, 90 foot. And we really learned to sail on her. We helped to rebuild her in Amsterdam and then sailed across, what we're doing now actually, the Atlantic and then into the Caribbean.
That's when you really started
No, that's when when we went to sea, Yeah, that's right. So we were in our 20s, but Bunny and I did that together on the boat. And it was sort of a happy community where with good values, we wanted to change the world. And we did make some differences here and there. We did some good work.
Yeah.
And a peace boat, whatever you call it. We did some aid in the Caribbean, brought some supplies to Nicaragua just after the Sandinistas took over, did projects like that. And then went back on the Greenpeace ships, get Pacific. We were part of the crew of the Rainbow Warrior when it arrived in Auckland, New Zealand in '85. That made a huge impact on us. We got bombed there.
Yeah, it was bombed and sank.
That's
there.
right.
Yeah.
And that affected our lives hugely.
Yeah. And so were you part of the crew in the Pacific against the bombs and stuff?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
We did some of that. Yeah, went to Rongelap.
Yeah, that must have been.
Yeah, there was all big stuff, and we were very young. We were in our late 20s, and it was life changing.
Yes. Really,
and anyway, So then I worked in New Zealand for Greenpeace again for the Antarctic campaign, and we set a base down there, station, and I was the logistics coordinator for that for a number of years. But on FRI, on that wooden boat, I really was, I always worked with my hands. I was a carpet layer in Holland, in Brabant, as a young man. I always worked with tools. And on FRI, I became the engineer and carpenter, together with lots of the other people. Anyway, I did a lot of the maintenance and really got involved with the boat and think what wonderful machines they are, boats, that they are so ingenious and they have to do so many functions and you have to be so self-reliant and that's kind of all appealed to me very much. And then I thought, wouldn't it be great if you ever kind of built your own boat, and do that as a project and then do something interesting and worthwhile with it. So then I worked for the Greenpeace campaign for the Antarctic, and we set up a station down there at World Park Base, and I did the logistics for that. And then I thought, wouldn't it be nice to build a boat that actually can go down to the Antarctic and do sort of work without having these big ships that take lots of fuel,
Yeah.
and that are very expensive to run day by day, to take a smaller ship down there and do something similar. So then I spent a couple of years gathering information and set out what I thought I wanted with the boat, and then finding a designer, and then I started building the boat, really, just to take a leap. And my wife said that she was going to support me,
Yeah.
and I said it's going to take 2 years, and it took 7. So there.
So does she get back to you on that every now and then?
No, she does not. She does not ever.
I will ask her a little later.
Yeah, she does not ever. She just let me get on, and she paid the bills and paid the mortgage and put food on the table, and had a full-time job. And we had a baby in the meantime as well. And I managed to launch a boat, and then I managed to make a business out of chartering, and we did some good work with the boat, including some campaigning and a couple of issues, and yeah.